The Chicago Bulls have now started off the season 2-0 with the win over the Detroit Pistons and the win over the Orlando Magic last night. On today's episode, I want to talk about my way too early overreactions when it comes to the Chicago Bulls. And, of course, we're not going to just talk about the good. We also got to talk about where some things are concerning this team. We're getting into all that, plus the mailbag, right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And overreactions through two games, right? And I just want to talk about, and it really, you guys know, I'm a lot more reasonable to have crazy overreactions, but you know, it's hard to really say things are trends through two games, right? I think we won't really have a good idea of really being able to say trends until about 10 or 15 games in, but we can look at the data and review it, right? And so the first thing that I want to talk about with this team is going to be deep, right? And that was something that a lot of people talked about, you know, to start the season, is how deep this bench could be. Billy Donovan and people talked about it. And there were a lot of kind of doubts around some more casual fans and Bulls fans in regards to that. Like, just because you have a lot of players doesn't necessarily mean your team's going to be deep. And I think that that's a fair statement. You guys know, I think there's some Bulls fan PTSD in regards to people just kind of, they just want to fill it out and feel like it's really safe before they trusted this Bulls team is going to, do anything really well, right? So through two games, and keep in mind, these are two games which we're still missing Zach Collins, and Tre Jones, who's going to be on the bench as well, is in the starting lineup, right? Through two games, the Chicago Bulls are averaging 46.5 points off the bench per game. I just want to put that in perspective. In no way do I expect that to stay up, but that will put the Bulls in top three categories of benches in as far as production in the league, right? And we don't even necessarily have like scorers off the bench, right? Of course, we have Ayo, who was absolutely a scorer in college, hasn't been just a scorer in the NBA, right? But we know that Ayo can fill it up. You got Kevin Huerter, who's a really good shooter. And then, at that point, Trey's in the starting lineup, so I can't even count him. But it's been by committee. Like, you just have guys just going out there and doing their job. And that could be one of the standouts. When you already have an unselfish team, which the Bulls are, right? They like to get everybody involved. And then on top of that, you have these players that are just finding a way to step up off the bench. P. Will was huge in last night's game, especially with Buzelis in trouble. And that's the thing that can make this team special, right? Is the fact that when you need to go to your bullpen, and that's kind of the way that I like to, like, what tools do you have and what varying styles do you have in? Do you have guys that, if a guy like Modest gets into foul trouble, you have guys that are going to step up? And through Jalen Smith and P. Will, they basically combined for the entirety of the game, and they more so than filled in with the lack of Modest Buzelis that we were having on the team. Right now, I'm saying in different ways, right? Jalen finally kept his big ass in the paint. He still took two 3-pointers. He made both of those. Patrick Williams came into the game and gave the Bulls some really good minutes. And you look at how through Modest Buzelis and the time that he was on the bench, P. Will really had to step into that role, playing that good defensive, ability on Franz and Paolo. We just didn't have anybody else who can guard those guys. Between P. Will and Jalen Smith, like, you had two guys that came in off the bench and gave you unexpected production to go along with Kevin Huerter and Ayo Dosunmu and what you have kind of come to expect from those guys, and they filled in perfectly. And that's what is truly how you have a deep team, right? When you have guys that can step in when you need to and still give big performances, and the Bulls had that. Now, like I said, we need to see how much of that trend is going to maintain a full season for the Chicago Bulls, right? Before we can say for sure that those guys are going to be able to do that. But through two games so far, it just looks like the Bulls bench not only understands the balance, they understand, hey, when I come into the game, this is what I need to do. Kevin Huerter has come in, he's been a solid passer, a solid defender, even when the shot's not falling. And that's been major because, you typically look at Kevin Huerter like, hey, if his shot's not falling, what is he giving you? So, that is really good. And, 58 points off the bench last night against the Detroit Pistons after a game where you had over 30 in the game before that. So things are looking really good for the Bulls in that area, right? Tre Jones is stepping in and giving basically everything we got from Lonzo Ball. He's not the three-point shooter that Lonzo Ball was, And of course, he's not like in the passing lanes, but you look at Trey and what he's giving you with solid defense, running the offense at times. Like through the two games, you could tell when teams are trying to scheme Josh Giddey out of it, right, with keeping the ball out of his hands. Tre Jones is able to do that. He's averaging 8 assists, for over the first two games as well, shooting the ball over 50% from the field, 66% from three, even though he's only taking 1 3 per game. Like, he's just a smart player. And there's something to be said about point guards who are just smart, solid passers, and can hit an open shot. Like, there's always going to be roles for those guys on the team. He's averaging 3 rebounds, 8 assists, 12.5 points through 2 games. Yes, he's doing that as a starter, and that those opportunities are going to be there a little bit less for him when he does move back to the bench. But just the fact you can go to him, right? He can play with Josh Giddey. He can play with Kobe White. There's still going to be a lot of minutes. He's averaging 30 minutes per game over the first 2. That's probably going to reasonably go down more like to 22 to 24 once Kobe White's back and he's on the bench. But one thing that you can bet on is that the Tre Jones minutes, he's going to give you total effort. He's going to fight over those minutes he's going to give you. And again, having that solid production off the bench is huge for a Bulls team that needs every bit of it. Josh Giddey is picking up where he left off last season. Now, it hasn't been the most beautiful, and admittedly, he's shooting 40% from the field, which is not good. And we know that Josh Giddey can be better than that, and he will be, right? But he's shooting 42% from 3, showing that three-point shooting that he continually improves on year after year is still a big part of his game. We're still seeing Josh Giddey continue to improve as a three-point shooter. How does it look for the entirety of the year? We shall see, but he's taking 3.5 per game over the first 2, hitting at a 42% clip. He's also getting to the free throw line 8.5 times a game. Keep in mind, last season was the most of his career, and he only averaged 3.2 over the season. Josh Giddey, if he's going to be getting to the free throw line 8, almost 9 times a game, that's going to extend the offense, and that makes it like me more comfortable with the 40% shooting from the field. But he's going to have to get that back up to 46, 47% from the field. But Josh Giddey averaging 20 points, 7 assists, 6.5 rebounds per game. He is completely filling the stat sheet yet again. For everybody that doubted Josh Giddey, he's looking like he's going to make that contract a steal for the Chicago Bulls, an absolute steal if he continues to put that up. Again, 2 games, but and the thing with Josh Giddey too is that he ramps up as the game goes on. It seems like Giddey is doing a better job at kind of filling out what the defense is going to do, and then once he kind of realizes, all right, this is how they're going to guard me, this is who they're going to switch on me. All right, I can get to this guy using more power. I can get to this guy trying to use more of a step on my broad shoulders. He's doing those things. There were a couple of times last night where I feel like Josh Giddey could have had more free throw calls if he just went harder to the paint, but he was passing, he was being unselfish, and he didn't have a lot of turnovers. Only 2 turnovers from Josh Giddey last night, so no real big criticism there. But it's just something that you're seeing with this team. Josh Giddey is making that contract a steal, and that's really good to see. Modest, we got to talk a little bit about Modest is still learning. Yesterday was a game that 6 fouls in 12 minutes is a bit extreme, right? And I want to be clear there. And there were some ticky-tack fouls, things like that from Modest. But I will say this. The thing about Modest that continues to stand out for me personally is the fact that, he doesn't get too far down. Even when he fouled out, like he was still being a really good teammate on the sideline, things like that. But this is just a reminder that it's not going to be linear. It's just not for progression. It's not going to be linear. He's going to have, hopefully not games this bad, but he's going to have games of getting in foul trouble, right? He's going to do those type of things. It was a bad game for Modest. The turnover was timely as well before he went out in that first stretch. Like it was some things that stood out about, Modest as far as it just wasn't the strongest game for him. But again, he's 21 years old. Those games are going to happen. It was never going to be this thing where it was just pretty straightforward. He just keeps ascending. But, he had almost as many turnovers as points. He had 3 rebounds, though, 1 steal. But it's still going to be a growing process for Modest. And, we've always said it. He's going to have some moments of it being a little tough for him. Next, Isaac Okoro. This is going to be a sore topic for Bulls fans until he either starts playing better or he starts hitting shots at a better rate, right? Those are going to be things that continue to plague Isaac Okoro until he's able to do that. And these are things that have really stood out as far as negative about his game so far. But listen, he had a game where he made a huge impact in the first game. The second game, not so much. And we'll just see how it continues to go. But I'll say this. He hasn't played in any way where you can say he's 100% safe as the starter. He's just not. And we'll see how long of a leash Billy Donovan gives him before he, makes that decision to maybe pull him or something else. But Yeah, we'll see. It's been a bit of a rough go for Isaac Okoro. But the hope is that he's able to fill in. I get it that Billy Donovan really isn't too worried about Okoro's offense. And maybe once Kobe comes back, he's worried about it even less. But I won't act like the missing wide open shots is a big concern for him. And it'll be a big concern for any basketball player, regardless of what your role is. Like, you still have to be able to hit wide open shots at a better rate than what Isaac Okoro's doing. And hopefully that comes along for him a little bit as well. As far as overall the team stuff, the team is definitely picking up on where it left off last season. The Bulls are top 10 in rebounding, top 10 in assists through 2 games. Top 10 as well in blocks per game. They're 12th in steals per game as well. And the Bulls are doing that with only being 23rd in scoring. They're only averaging 112 points per game. We were 8th in scoring last season, averaging about 8 points more per game. So the Bulls got to get that together. But the fact that they're doing this and the defense is legitimate. Like, you're seeing this team improve defensively. You're seeing them give better effort defensively. And all these things are really standing out for this team that is trying to get it together and make a postseason run. That's what they're trying to do. And, we'll see what they're going to be able to do with that. The steal rate is really good. The assist rate is going to be the 3rd in the league in assists, right? But surprisingly enough, through 2 games, the Chicago Bulls have the number 1 defensive rating in the game of basketball. This is why I said it's overreactions. It's only 2 games, but that's been really good. They're 18th in true shooting percentage. We got to get those turnovers together. We're going to end up leading the league in turnovers if we can't get that together. We have to be better at turnovers. But the assist to turnover thing is really good. And again, this team being as unselfish as what it is something that really stands out about why this team has the potential it does to really improve over where they were last season. So those are kind of my overreactions. Those are my things looking at, the first 2 games for the Chicago Bulls. But as you guys know, it is Sunday. That means it's Mailbag Day. We got 4 voicemails we're going to get into. This one's from Todd.
Hey, what's up, bro? It's Todd, man. It's been a minute, but checking back in with you. And I wanted to pose an interesting question that I don't know if we've discussed, but what does Billy Donovan have to do to be in consideration this year for Coach of the Year? I'm calling after the second game, and I'm not jumping out the window based on us being 2-0, but I am thinking about how he's managing this team with no stars. Even with Kobe coming back, we still don't have a superstar. We still don't have, in our last 2 games, Cade or Paolo or anything like that. And to me, if we get in the 45 win range, and I know like Tibbs won it, and I think it was 21 or 20 with 41 wins. But if we get in like that 42 to 45 win range, I think he should be considered for Coach of the Year. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I hadn't heard that take before, or really a thought even of him getting to that place. But I think it's possible, and I think what he's doing with this squad is worthy of it, even if it's not a 50-win season, which is typically your Coach of the Year. So let me get your thoughts on that, and I'd be interested to hear. All right? Take care. See you, Red. Talk soon.
Funny enough, Todd, somebody did ask this exact question on the live stream last night after the game. And I do think Billy Donovan could get votes for Coach of the Year with the team hovering around maybe 42 to 45 wins, right? I think I could see it doing something then. But if he truly wants to be one of the best candidates for Coach of the Year, I think you got to get 50 wins. Now, like you said, it's happened before where coaches have won it with less than that, and it really becomes about the narrative. Do they win big games? What the national media conversation is. Modest Buzelis, and the fact that there's so many people interested in him. He has a big leap as well this year that can play into it. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. I just, I'm a probability over possibility guy. And I just think to increase that possibility of actually winning it, you got to win at least 50. Now, he's going to be in votes. If the Bulls are above 500, I think he's going to be votes. Top 5 will probably be somewhere in there. If the Bulls team wins between 42 and 45, he could be top 3 in votes. But to really seal and want to have one of the best chances, I look at it, you got to have 50 wins. That's the way that I look at it. Again, not saying that is the end-all, be-all, but, we shall see. And if Billy wins Coach of the Year, shout out to Billy. All right, let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Caden.
Hey, man. It's your boy Caden from the south side of Chicago. But anyway, hitting you up after a while, I wanted to talk about porn and talking about the Kobe White thing. And I know I might be a little bit late on it, but bro, no bad vibes, no attacks, but you lack basketball knowledge if you believe that this team is better without Kobe White, if you believe that Kobe White is a sixth man, if you believe in any world that Kobe White is not that guy for this team, bro, you lack basketball knowledge, like straight up. One other thing I wanted to talk about is the ascension of Modest Buzelis and the possibility for it to be three different 20-point per game scores on the Bulls this season. Do you think it's possible that Vooch, Kobe, and Modest can average 20 points per game? Let me know what you think. Hey, it's your boy Caden. Like I said, man, thank you for everything you do. I'm up out of it.
I think my brother Corn would be the first to admit that he's a prisoner of the moment. And again, love Corn, no knock on Corn, but he very much is a prisoner of the moment. He makes knee-jerk kind of reactions to things without really kind of thinking about them in full. But reportedly, he's going to be coming back with some more facts on his next voicemail to explain the Kobe stance. You guys know I definitely got the numbers, so we'll see how that's going to go. Now, as far as having three players average 20 points per game, yeah, it's possible. I think that goes back to the possibility over probability thing. I think the pace that we play with, it's definitely possible to have three 20-point per game scores. But I think how unselfish this Bulls team is, I don't know if you get that, to be honest with you. You may get one 20-point per game score, two other players being close, but keep in mind, this team likes to spread it out. They like to spread out the love. They like to, get everybody involved. And because of that, I don't know if necessarily I see us having three players averaging over 20. But again, it's definitely possible. And I wouldn't be mad if it happens. Like, it's all about, to me, it's all about whatever you need to do to win. And that's what it seems like the mindset of this team is as well. Everybody's willing to do whatever it takes to make this team a winning team. And a big part of me is so happy to hear that about this basketball team. So I think that's the most important thing. I don't care what people averages. I care what that win number is at the end of the season, and we shall see. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Reginald.
Hey, Hayes. This is Reginald, just calling after the Bulls win against the Orlando Magic. And I gotta say, I'm impressed with some of the Bulls players, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Tre Jones and Io are doing as well as they are. I was one of those Bulls fans who were like, if Tre Jones wants a contract where he's making anywhere between 12 or 13 million a year, you give it to him, because we all remember what it was like not having a point guard or only having one, main point guard. And if anything happened to him, it would be a disaster. It was just bad. The team would be far, far less effective. And that's why I really wanted him to stay. I was thinking, when I heard that he took a 3-year, what was it, $27-30 million deal, I was like, you should have made it 5 years, because that's a great deal. He's a really good point guard. He can catch the ball. He gets steals. He starts fast drives. Why not, give him a big deal? But I'm glad he's, everybody sees what we see, and how good point guard he is. I'm a little concerned with having him and Giddy on the floor at the same time. Not because it's, not working, but because Giddy's not really an off-ball player. He has to have the ball in his hands. So let's see where that goes. Lastly, Okoro. Let's see what he does. Him not being able to put the ball in the basket is a major concern. I know some people might say you only brought him in for his defense, but he's a professional NBA player. He needs to be able to make a shot. The same problem we have with Jalen Smith taking a bunch of shots and not being able to hit. If he needs to attack the basket, then attack the basket. So, that's how they start making his shots. And that's what I want to see the Bulls do more. When you see a way to the hole, you take it. You drive and you hit your free throws, you hit your floater, you hit a dunk. So my question to you is, how far do you think the Bulls could go with this current roster? And what improvements do you think they need to make? Thanks for having me out.
Reggie, I got to get, this is your best quality voicemail yet as far as sound quality, not as far as content. Like, whatever you did, keep doing that, right? I hate having to pass up on some of your voicemails sometimes because of the quality of them, but that was really good. But yeah, I think Trey probably wanted 3 years as well to maximize on his earnings. Keep in mind, like, players also look at it and say, hey, if I have a really good role here in Chicago for the next 3 years, even if I want to stay in Chicago, I get more money. So, locking players into 5-year deals, I think you're going to see a lot more with the money and the increases. You're going to see a lot more players, unless they're getting a max signed closer to 3 or 4 year deals with an option to get back out there. And Trey's next contract may be his last time for a big contract as well. He's already 25 years old. He'll be 28, and that'll probably be his time to get his next big contract. So rather than go back out in the market when you're already 30, give yourself, a couple more years before you hit that to sign a sizable deal. And I think that's probably what you saw with Trey also. So keep that in mind. With Okoro, I agree, right? I don't need you taking 8 shots per game, but I need you to hit the wide open shots. And that's where the biggest problem has come from Isaac Okoro is that he, like Josh Giddey, Tre Jones, even Io, they're getting him shots. He's just not hitting. He hasn't made a single shot this season yet. And I know, 2 games, overreactions, but it's a bit of a concern there when it comes to him. And I hope that he's able to improve it because defensively he can absolutely help this team. But you have to be able to at least hit wide open shots. If you can't hit the wide open shots to keep the defense honest, you're basically playing 4-on-1 when you're on offense because they just know they don't have to guard you. So those wide open shots are really important for Isaac to be able to hit. All right, the last voicemail we're going to get into, man, this one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? It's Trey. Look, I know you could probably care less about this, but what do you think about this whole gambling investigation with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier getting arrested? Look, I know this is a Bulls thing, but what if somebody, a part of the Bulls organization is involved? Hell, what if Billy Donovan is probably involved? What would be your reaction? You'll probably be shocked, but I'm hoping and I'm praying that nobody in our organization, nobody on our team, as in players, are involved in this mess. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
The gambling investigation is wild. Like, it really sounds like some James Bond type shit, X-ray tables, X-ray glasses. It's crazy. And it's another thing for the NBA on top of the Kawhi Leonard scandal, all that's going on right now. Adam Silver's probably Nosferatu stressed the hell out. Now, as far as do I think anybody, I don't want to speculate on that. We'll talk about it if it happens. I hope that nobody in the Bulls organization is involved in that because I just don't want to deal with the drama. But overall around the NBA, this is a black eye on the NBA until Adam Silver handles it. And I do think if he is charged for anything, and Adam Silver's already been not indicted, but he's been subpoenaed to come, on Halloween and give an interview. But lifetime bans are coming from this. If they are proven, Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups and anybody else, ref-wise or anything else, is going to be banned for this. And the NBA has to act swiftly and harshly when it comes to integrity of the game type questions. And we'll see. I have more details on that on NBA Central. So if you guys kind of want, I did a whole video on it on NBA Central. So if you guys want more details, go over there. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.